In 2020, Nvidia announced its intention to acquire Arm for $40 billion. Nvidia is an American company, and it's best known for its consumer graphics cards and for its technology stack that powers self-driving cars. Arm is a chip company like Nvidia, but it doesn't make graphic cards. It actually doesn't make any chips at all. Instead, it designs architectures. Think of them as frameworks for computer chips, which other companies can use by paying Arm a licensing fee. It doesn't sound like a glamorous business model, but it actually sort of is. Arm's designs allow for significantly better power efficiency than what's on offer from competitors like AMD and Intel. And its clients include the likes of Apple, Samsung, and Qualcomm. You'll find chips that Arm's designed in everything from your smartwatch, to your phone, and even to high-end consumer computers. As short as 5 to 10 years ago, Nvidia acquiring Arm wouldn't have been a big deal. There are dozens of examples of cross-border acquisitions. Just think about Johnson & Johnson buying Crucell here in the Netherlands, or NCC acquiring Fox IT in 2015. We weren't necessarily happy about it, but we ultimately let those acquisitions go through. And now, just a few months ago, Nvidia has ended up having to pay Arm billions of dollars because regulators are getting in the way and getting ready to block this acquisition. This particular acquisition, it fell through for lots of reasons. There are all the usual suspects, concerns that acquisition would end up shipping jobs overseas, for example. But what's remarkable about this case is that regulators voiced their concern that Nvidia's acquisition of Arm posed a threat to the UK's technological sovereignty. But what's technological sovereignty? And why would Arm's acquisition of Nvidia undermine it? Let's start with the first question. Technological sovereignty is, in effect, the technological component of what the EU refers to as strategic autonomy. Since the US invasion of Iraq, and especially since the US commitment to NATO has been called into question under the Trump administration, European member states have worried they don't have the tools to ensure their own security. More specifically, they've worried they've grown too dependent on other countries, and those dependents can be used to limit their freedom to take actions and to make decisions. The reason there's a technological component to this is quite simple. Cutting-edge technologies are both extremely difficult to develop and potentially transformative in their economic and military impact. Look at the competitive edge that a technology has allowed companies like Google and Amazon to achieve over their competitors, and then scale that up to the nation-state level. A country which has access to sophisticated artificial intelligence, a quantum computer, or gene editing capabilities is going to outcompete a country which doesn't have access to those things. And because amassing the know-how, the resources, and the infrastructure to not only develop, but also commercialize those technologies is incredibly difficult, most countries just aren't going to be able to do so independently. There are going to be countries which have the know-how to develop and export these technologies, and those which don't. There's really very little doubt that the haves are going to gatekeep the have-nots to achieve their geopolitical goals. None of this is theoretical. The US and China have both taken steps to secure access to cutting-edge technologies, specifically because they know that doing so might buy them influence and control over other countries. Just look at the F-35 program and how many aspects of keeping that jet in working condition are dependent on US cooperation. We're talking about things as simple as maintenance and software updates. We don't actively worry about this in our daily lives right now because we get along with the US. But if we get a falling out, it's totally possible. We could lose access, and our jets would likely become less effective, if not inoperable as a result. It's all part of a larger trend that here at HCSS we refer to as Techno-Nationalism. That's to say, the use of market and non-market tools to transfer technology and technological know-how out of another country with the ultimate goal of locking that country into a long-term dependency. Take the Arm case as an example. Nvidia exists in a market and an environment where it has access to more capital and probably more government support than Arm does. On paper, it's competing on even ground. But in practice, the business culture of the United States, which obviously has come at the cost of things like welfare and privacy in that country, has allowed Nvidia to grow large enough to outcompete virtually all of its international rivals. This is a form of techno-nationalism. When European leaders talk about their country's technological or digital sovereignties, or when they talk about strategic autonomy, they are, in many cases, talking about preventing something like Arm's acquisition by Nvidia. They want to make sure that a company like Arm, which is a leader in global AI R&D, stays in Europe, and that it isn't absorbed by a competitor that's been able to grow to 5 times its size simply because it exists in a more permissive regulatory environment. They're also talking about hardening European companies against cyber attacks, against espionage, and about pushing back against preferential trade practices. Put simply, they're talking about taking steps to ensure that European companies are able to compete with their international rivals, and to ensure that Europe continues to grow as a leader in theoretical and applied research. They're talking about taking steps to help European startups grow into tech juggernauts, and about maximizing the chance that in 30 years, Europe's a source and an exporter, not a consumer or importer of cutting-edge technologies. Because ultimately, that's how we protect our security and our prosperity, by making sure that we're important enough, the connective sinews that bind economies together, that our views and our values are considered and taken seriously by our peers. So why did UK lawmakers think that Nvidia's acquisition of Arm would undermine technological sovereignty? It's because they want to make sure that the UK can maintain control of the outputs of the company's AI research. And probably because they want to make sure that the UK, and not US-based regulators, have the power to decide when, if, and who should be barred from accessing its designs. Because going forward, technology is going to be a bargaining chip, just like oil and gas is today. And it'll be better to be one of the haves than to be a have-not. Oh hey, if you're interested in this subject, we recently brought out a report about it where we tried to describe techno-nationalism and its component parts in depth. We even suggest what Dutch and EU regulators might do about it if they want to protect strategic autonomy. You should totally check it out.